Greetings for the day, dear students. Today I will discuss the hydrolysis of ATP. I have divided this lecture in two parts, and today I will discuss the part 1, in which I will give you the introductory part of the hydrolysis of ATP. So, we have already studied in our biology classes that living things require a continuous input of free energy for three major processes: the performance of mechanical work in muscle contraction and other cellular movements, second is the active transport of molecules and ions, and third one is the synthesis of macromolecules and other biomolecules from simple precursors. The free energy used in these processes, which maintain in an organism in a state that is far from equilibrium, is derived from the environment. Chemotrophs obtain this energy by oxidation of foodstuffs, whereas phototrophs obtain it by trapping light energy. Part of the free energy derived from the oxidation of foodstuffs and from light is transformed into highly accessible form before it is used for motion, active transport and biosynthesis. The free energy donor in most energy requiring processes is adenosine triphosphate, or as we know it is called ATP. The central role of ATP in energy exchange in biological systems was perceived in 1941 by Fritz Lippmann and Hermann Kalkar. So, we now come to the introductory part of the hydrolysis of ATP. As we know, a cell can be thought of a small bustling town. The carrier proteins move substances into and out of the cell. Motor proteins carry cargoes along microtubule tracts, and metabolic enzymes busily break down and build up macromolecules. Even if they would not be energetically favorable, that is energy releasing or exergonic in isolation, these processes will continue merrily along if there is energy available to power them. Much as business will continue to be done in a town as long as there is money flowing in. However, if the energy runs out, the reactions will grind to a halt and the cell will begin to die. Energetically unfavorable reactions are paid for by linked energetically favorable reactions that release energy. Often, the payment reactions involves one particular small molecule, adenosine triphosphate, that is, I have already told you, the ATP. Or now we come to the hydrolysis of ATP, but before starting the hydrolysis of ATP, let's have a recap of the structure of ATP. Adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, is a small, relatively simple molecule. It can be thought of as the main energy currency of cells, much as money is the main economic currency of human societies. The energy released by hydrolysis, that is breakdown of ATP, is used to power many energy requiring cellular reactions. Here we can see the structure of ATP, that is it consists of ribose sugar and a nitrogenous base and beta phosphate groups, gamma phosphate groups and alpha phosphate groups, that is 3 phosphate groups. Structurally, ATP is an RNA nucleotide that bears a chain of 3 phosphates that I have shown in the previous slide, that is alpha phosphate, beta phosphate and gamma phosphate. At the center of the molecule lies a 5-carbon sugar, that is a pentose sugar, that is ribose sugar, which is attached to the nitrogenous base adenine and to the chain of 3 phosphates. The 3 phosphate groups in order of closest to furthest from the ribose sugar are labeled as alpha, beta and gamma, as I had shown you in the previous slide. ATP is made of unstable by 3 adjacent negative charges in its phosphate tail, which want very badly to get further away from each other, because they are negatively charged and they repel each other, so they will try to get further away from each other. The bonds between the phosphate groups are called phosphoanhydride bonds, and we may hear them referred as high energy bonds. Now we come to the main point, that is hydrolysis of ATP. Why are the phosphoanhydride bonds considered high energy? That is the main question which leads ultimately to the hydrolysis of ATP. Now, to answer this we can say that all this really means is that an appreciable amount of energy is released when one of these bonds is broken in a hydrolysis, that is water mediated breakdown reaction. ATP is hydrolyzed to ADP in the reaction which we can see in the next slide, that is ATP plus water gives rise to ADP plus inorganic phosphate and releases energy, and this reaction, that is the change of ATP to ADP, is reversible. Here PI, that is inorganic phosphate, just stands for an inorganic phosphate group, that is PO4 3-. Like most chemical reactions, the hydrolysis of ATP to ADP is reversible, as we have seen in the reaction. The reverse reaction, which regenerates ATP from ADP and inorganic phosphate, requires energy. The regeneration of ATP is important because cells tend to use up or hydrolyze ATP molecule very quickly and rely on replacement of ATP being constantly produced. So here in this diagram we can compare the reversible reaction, that is the hydrolysis of ATP to ADP, and again the conversion of ADP to ATP, which is a reversible process. Like we can compare it to a charged battery, that is ATP is the charged battery and it releases energy and changes into ATP plus inorganic phosphate, which again converts into it requires energy and changes to ATP, which is considered as a charged battery, and ADP is considered as a discharged battery or dead battery. So it is a reversible process, just like charging and recharging of a battery. So this was all about the introductory portion of hydrolysis of ATP. In the next presentation I will discuss the continuing part of the hydrolysis of ATP. Thank you. Have a nice day.